Crown Jewel. So this event comes off the heels of a pretty disappointing WrestlePalooza event. And it feels like WWE understood that in order for fans to purchase the show, they gotta see some interesting stuff. Not necessarily returns or spamming viral TikTok moments for the sake of it. Oh my god, could it be? And all that nonsense. No, we just want to see wrestling. We just want to see stories come to a head. And I'd say Crown Jewel 2025 did its job. We'll talk about that later. Alright, with that said, let's get into it. Okay, the first match on the show was an Australian street fight. Now, I obviously don't expect kangaroos or some strange wildlife in this match, but I was hoping that the street fight would include some cultural items between these two. It was Big Bronson Reed versus Roman Reigns. Now, of course, Bronson Reed had a great reception here, seeing as he's from Australia, and he's always wanted to be at an event like this. So Roman returned 2 weeks ago. It's his 7th return probably, but to the fans in the crowd, it's not diminishing. And you feel that star power when Roman enters the arena. I almost started glazing like crazy because this man is that damn popular. And in some ways, I do wish that every story of his feels more intense and more like the thing to watch on the shows, but they're doing this long-term storytelling, so obviously they can't do Seth Rollins right now. But I would hope that Roman's stories feel very, very important as opposed to buying time till something else. Once again, I'd hoped that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were their own men, but obviously someone has to do the talking for them. And with the way the story is set up, it's natural that Roman runs the gauntlet to his match with Seth Rollins. With this one, they did bring some actual weapons and items from Australia. Reigns was clearly having fun with this one and he was engaged with the crowd. Brutal Samoan drop on the chair here for a near fall. The match had a great vibe to it, but you knew that the interferences were coming. Now, the Usos had some tension earlier this week on Raw because Jay wants to do things differently, so naturally, since they're here in Australia, they obviously continued that story. Raw needs to be checked for the wellness policy because this guy was moving crazy. Then Jay accidentally speared Roman through the table, leading to the tsunami and the victory for Bronson Reed. I thought this was a good match up until the interferences. The bloodline melodrama is still ongoing, and the worst part is it just might lead to them becoming buddy-buddy like nothing happened in a month, seeing as War Games is coming up. Roman Reigns was upset because he had told them that he didn't want any part of them and said that it wasn't like the old times. But this was a big win from Bronson Reed. He got Okada on the G1, Kazuchika Okada on the G1, and now the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. I don't think anyone in the WWE could say that. With the Bloodline, they obviously have to regroup in front of this huge threat, that being the Vision, but I'm just hoping we cut straight to the Visionary and the Tribal Chief because that's the real story. An actual match between those two to end the Shield lore once and for all. I think it's a bit radical, but I'm hoping Jay turns heel and just does his own thing, but at the same time, I feel like it'll drag into an MTF style thing, and when thinking about that, maybe I'm good, you know, because if Jay does turn heel, naturally, they're going to do the big WrestleMania match, once again, him and Jimmy, and I'm kind of scared to see that again. But yeah, War Games is probably the move. We've heard some rumors going around. I'm not going to talk about them right now because we don't know if they're actually going to be realized, but maybe the Vision is going to have a new member really soon. Okay, Stephanie McMahon and Tiffany Strand face off for the Crown Jewel Championship. The title once held by Liv Morgan is now up for grabs between these two. This is a weird match because it wasn't too long ago that these two were in NXT. When watching this, the commentary tried to make it out like Strand was the more experienced one, but it just felt like the opposite. It felt like they were watching with their eyes closed. McMahon looked more seasoned, which of course is in line with her actual skill and expertise before coming to WWE. There was this amazing transition into the Alabama Slam that looked so damn satisfying and smooth. I was wowed by it. These two are wrestling like time was running out, which meant that it was more back and forth and more of a showcase. It also reminds me of last year and how that women's Crown Jewel match felt like something from SmackDown. Hell, something from Main Event. It just wasn't good. Whereas this was a PLE match. A match to look forward to on the show. Tiffany was taking way more risks here, but she wasn't as impactful as Stephanie McMahon, who connected with the corkscrew to win the title. Great match. I really enjoyed this one because it felt like they told them to work out there. Nothing about forcing an epic, just two women who wanted to overcome the other as quickly as possible. They brought out their big weapons early, and for Strand, she suffered her first loss this year. Definitely my favorite Strand match this year. She's better as a heel, but this was as good of a match you were going to get here with her as a face. McMahon's wild year continues. La Primera is here to stay, and it's insane how much stars that the women's division has made or keep making. They're on a roll right now. But yeah, enjoyable match. Very different to the ones we've seen on this show because it felt like whoever was going to hit their move was going to win, and that obviously being Stephanie McMahon in the end. Okay, John Cena meets one of his greatest rivals ever, AJ Styles. The final chapter in the saga, a saga that pushed John Cena's in-ring capabilities into overdrive. AJ Styles in some ways was instrumental in changing narratives around Cena's actual in-ring work. He's done well for himself throughout the years, but the matches that he had with AJ Styles were some that few in the world would be able to consistently have with him. AJ Styles' career has a select few that are considered his greatest rivals, and for me, my two favorites that AJ Styles ever had a rivalry with are Okada and John Cena, because those two are two of my favorite matches that AJ Styles ever had. So to see him actually get the chance one last time to do this, it's incredible. In some ways, AJ Styles' retirement tour has begun, and seeing him wear his old attire here was crazy. It really looked odd seeing it. The last time they faced off, Cena was victorious and crafted one of his greatest TV matches ever. February 27th, 2018, SmackDown Live. You should watch. The crowd here over overwhelmed the audio like crazy for John Cena, and it's a bit unbelievable. I really wanted for this match to happen, for both men, because it felt like WWE, not the fans, forget just how special this feud between these two was. It benefited both men like crazy. Cena solidified his legacy during that feud, Styles solidified himself as a WWE legend with a story, but it's here, and it's here in a big arena in front of some of the most passionate fans in the entire world. WWE brought Styles' identity of TNA and leader of Bullet Club here more than they ever did, and hearing the face that runs the place was nostalgic. Styles looked incredible early on. The guy might have lost a step, but his execution of moves still has that flash about it. One thing I liked is that for as much of a draw Cena was, I never thought he'd fill up an arena with his shirt to the point where he makes this look like his fortress. It's like the Warriors in 2016 in their home arena. This one was brewing. It was slowly building to them going crazy. Cena, of course, had his AA neutered over the years, so obviously one wasn't going to be enough. So he pulled out a skull-crushing finale. Styles brought out a scorpion death drop, and these two are vibing. That's the whole point of this match. They brought out the crossface, the accolade, coquina clutch in honor of Joe. Cena even pulled out the walls of Jericho, and I got the best reaction up to this point. A great rival of Cena's, that being, of course, Chris Jericho. Now, obviously, he learned that his moves are more useful, but it didn't stop him from pulling out different things, because in storyline, Styles knew everything about him. It didn't stop Styles himself from hitting the Styles Clash. The craziest reaction from the crowd was the counter to the phenomenal forearm into the Sister Abigail, and the crowd exploded. It goes to show how much Bray Wyatt meant to people. It's one of the best tributes that I've ever seen for Bray Wyatt. Of course, the Wyatt Six do it on a weekly basis, but this one stands out more because it's from somebody else. This is a face of a man that's enjoying every second of these last matches. Styles himself pulled out a brutal dead eye, or fade to black in honor of Frankie Kazarian. Cena responds with Orton's moves, and it was vibes. And if you're wondering, what are vibes? Well, an incredible crowd, engaged with even a suplex. They give a damn about that. Two passionate wrestlers looking to honor and acknowledge their previous peers. That's what vibes were here. Cena even acted like The Undertaker at one moment. And it's a very different match to the one I imagined. The 619 attempt had me laughing because the crowd was like, 619, and Cena, he was going off adrenaline and hype at this point. He's like, you know, I'm gonna hit a 619. Obviously, he probably would have bounced off the ropes onto the outside or something, but it was funny. One of the funniest things I've seen in a match recently. Then we got AJ hitting his insane 450. We haven't seen that in a while. He's still capable. The match was greatest hits, and it's more of an exhibition match that honors the previous legends. It's an outlier of their feud. It's different. It's not exactly in the feud, but because they're both associated with this match, technically it's a part of their feud. This is a battle that encapsulates the greatness of professional wrestling, and they demonstrated that with all the moves that many had used to dazzle and amaze the crowd over the years. Then to top it all off, John Cena caught Styles midair, rolled backwards, and instead of hitting the AA, he connected with the Tombstone Pile Driver, and then ended the match with his AA, and that was it. Incredible match. It brought everyone's emotions to the highest, and some of the highest I've personally felt since SummerSlam's main event. I saw this match in a simple light. It wasn't about Cena and Styles, but more so about professional wrestling. The story served to remind us of why we watch this form of entertainment. The passion, the athleticism, the counters, the surprises, and of course the characters. And seeing it in that light, it has to be considered a standout match. Because if you're watching it for the Styles and John Cena feud, it is not like that at all. It's not John Cena versus AJ Styles. These guys basically channeled their previous peers. I do wish they channeled Kurt Angle and made a match out of that. It was more exhibition. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was included in the Styles and Cena feud. It was just them bringing out the passion of wrestling. The thing about matches is that I look at that in the first watch. When you watch a match for the first time, you look at it and assess the emotion and how it brings you. I don't know if I consider this WWE's best match of the year because obviously it's an exhibition. I think it could be rated separately from the other matches. But based on emotion and high, this is the important part. This is the most important part that alters my own perception. I don't think there's any that match this for me in terms of emotion and high this year. Two legends of the game, honoring all the legends. They didn't make it about themselves here. It was more about the guys that came before them, or the guys that aided them in their careers. And when you look at it from that position, yeah, this was a great match. Wonderful stuff. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley team up against the Kabuki Warriors. Okay, so this is one of the deeper stories on Raw. Asuka wants to be a dictator while claiming to be friends with Io and Kairi. And with Kairi, she's too scared to take action. And with Io, it was after her back was against the wall that she did something. Rhea Ripley is the odd one caught in the middle with no emotion behind Asuka but planning for Io. So obviously she wanted to settle this in a positive manner, not to offend Io Sky. But it had to lead to this. This was a regular tag match. Obviously doesn't need to be more than it is, with Io playing the role of the wounded babyface, Rhea of course the powerhouse waiting for a moment. And this is a tag team formula. You can deviate away from it, but you don't have to because it's all about the wrestler's performance. Asuka and Kairi were dominant, but they weren't prepared for the Eradicator. The match got very heated and interesting from there, and I didn't believe that the result was unpredictable because we all knew how it would end, especially in Australia. WrestleMania, but it doesn't stop you from being intrigued in the lead up to the conclusion. Kairi was too worried about Asuka that she sacrificed herself, leading to the loss, and I'm sure that merciless Asuka will appreciate the gesture on Raw. I'm sure of it, right? Good match, good. And the main event, Seth Rollins faces Cody Rhodes. This story is not about Cody Rhodes like it was 3 years ago. Now it's about Rollins getting that win over the man that beat him 3 consecutive times. WWE is very smart in making this the main event of Crown Jewel because there's something to be invested in. Last year, I watched Gunther and Cody just for the match. This here has a story heading into it. Rollins has become obsessed with the idea of his vision. Cody stands in the way. The same Cody that Rollins protected and shielded last year in the match of the century. Alright, we're doing too much. But it was probably WWE's biggest match in this decade. I highly doubt when 2030 comes around that there will be a match that tops the level of hype that had. But we're yapping too much here. Rollins and Cody almost had an inseparable bond stemming from that match to the point where they commemorated it with Rolex watches. The watch is very important because it immediately takes both of them back to a time where they needed each other more than ever. And whenever Seth hears about the flashback to WrestleMania 40, he almost can't fully bring himself to hate Cody, but it's necessary for his vision. Because they had good times together. They stopped Roman Reigns. But now Rollins is claiming he had to do what he had to do because Roman was worse, and that he doesn't actually like Cody, and that he doesn't value his friendship. We all know deep down inside he doesn't believe that, but he has to because it's about his position here in the company. Good story. They even had Paul Heyman tell Seth that if he doesn't win at Crown Jewel, then this vision is all for nothing. There was a great atmosphere here. Rollins was clearly rattled because Rhodes had 3 big wins over him, and it seemed like only a formality that would be for, especially the way the crowd was cheering for the WWE champion. Seth was blaming the commentary and almost got into it with Wade Barrett. With the match on the outside, it allowed for chaos, which of course worked in Rollins' favor, and this is when he started working on the arm. The same pec that was destroyed 3 years ago. There was this great springboard powerbomb. I really liked the counter, the disaster kick. It looked so nice here from out of nowhere. There was a lot of work done to the arm here, and I just noticed, but this guy had polka dots again on his tights. The match kicked up here. These two have tremendous chemistry. They know each other so well and could wrestle at a great and fast pace. When Rollins successfully connects with the Phoenix Splash, I'm rich. How the hell did he leap that high? I don't know. Rollins soon learned that Cody Rhodes was a lot tougher to take out, and he brought in the watch. Out of everything, he brought in the watch because it was symbolic, and he could hide it. Then he activated Seth Benoit, and this guy looked like a madman with this coast-to-coast headbutt. Who the hell's hitting this? Well, actually, I don't think we need to answer who. This looked so out of place, but also helped establish how desperate the Seth Rollins was to beat Rhodes. The man was pulling out all the stops. A Spanish flying, a rock bottom. Well, actually, it's not a rock bottom, it's his wife's move. The manhandle slam. Still not enough. Rhodes responded with this OD crossroads, and I honestly don't think it should have been in this match. It only serves to make his move look weak, but then again, he has to hit 3 crossroads in a row to win. The crossroads at this point is like the Argentinian currency. Rollins used the watch to KO Cody and connect with 2 curb stomps, with the second being a super stomp to finally overcome Cody Rhodes. While this match at times felt too dramatic for its own good, the build of the match didn't exactly promise us that it won't be. It basically promised us that it will be. Great match. They told a great story in here with Seth Rollins becoming a desperate madman. There's a lot of small things he did very well in this match, and it felt like he really wanted this performance to be remembered, and it is going to be remembered. These two displayed great chemistry here. They went crazy. They almost had me wishing for them to face off at WrestleMania, but at that point, it's going to be like Cody Rhodes just faces the same guys at WrestleMania. They finished the story here with Seth Rollins officially beating him. He's yapping. He's like, I'm one of the greatest of all time because I beat Cody Rhodes. But I don't think this is it between these two. I think there's a story to be told here with War Games. The Vision's obviously committing terrorist acts on Raw. The Bloodline isn't too happy about it and seems to be a bit weak. They're obviously going to probably call for help. We'll see, but this was a great match. One of the best matches on the entire show, and it's enjoyable. Yeah, I thought they went a little too crazy for their own good, but I love this match. I thought it was great. I can't hate on it. And they didn't need to do a crazy return at the end to be like, see, WWE's on fire. Like, sure, Rollins cheated to win, but was he ever going to beat Cody Rhodes clean here? Hell no. I'd rather that than another return here, or a new member of the Vision, or some surprise. They could do that stuff on Raw, but here, they had their match. Heel cheats to win. Simple stuff, but the chemistry between them is the reason why this match is great. So yeah. Alright, that's Crown Jewel. Good event. Hell, I'd say it's a great event. WWE might be on fire again. Alright, I'm joking there, but maybe the C rating for WrestlePalooza, which honestly should have been a D, led to this. I enjoyed it. There's not a single bad match on here. It passes by quick. It's enjoyable. It's engaging. Great action. WWE didn't need to bring in some surprises or some heel turns or some stuff just for the sake of it. They just had their show here. Wrestlers wrestled. Some won, some lost, and that's all I needed. As long as it's good, that's all I need on these shows. Like, yeah, for SummerSlam, WrestleMania, you could do some crazy stuff or whatever, but you don't need to do that for every show. This show is a prime example of that. You could still have something enjoyable. And the WWE's international crowds remain their secret weapon. They always have it in their back pocket, and they just make the show much better than it is. Other than that, I don't have a single problem with the show. All the matches were good. I enjoyed all of them. There's some small things in there, but am I gonna let that ruin my experience? Hell no. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. Let tiny things ruin my experience, because this show is way better than WrestlePalooza. Way better. I didn't like WrestlePalooza because it was the first ESPN show and it didn't exactly entertain that much. Even the great matches weren't even that good. This event clears it like crazy. It's like 5 times better. I do look forward to Survivor Series. I kind of wish it wasn't War Games, but it's gonna be, obviously. I hope they can make some good stories out of them. One thing to look out for is obviously the Io Sky and Kabuki Warrior story. We do wonder when Kyrie will turn. We'll realize who Asuka truly is. And of course, we gotta mention the John Cena retirement tour. John Cena's had a good run recently, ever since he turned face. And I'm kind of glad that they're gonna close this on a high note by the looks of it, although you never know with Triple H. I do look forward to seeing his next opponent. It could be anyone from Sheamus, Dominic Mysterio, or even Rey Mysterio himself. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah. Alright, what you guys think of Crown Jewel? Please comment down below. And that's for this video. Make sure you hit the AA on the like button, perhaps the stomp and the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.